And I sit there and think, like, this lady told me, looked at me and said, you don't belong here. Like, out of nowhere, like she was an angel, like literally like she was a guardian angel, and said, you don't belong here.
Mm.
You know, and I said, and I never forget it. I was
God be working.
How to beat the trap.
Peace, family. It's Jay Morrison, and welcome to another episode of How to Beat the Trap. And I got my brother, neighborhood hero,
Peace, King.
in real life, a real man's man.
Yes, sir.
The King Mysonne, New York General. Mysonne!
What's going on?
Peace. I'm well, man. Thank you. I'm blessed.
Yes.
Welcome to the trap.
Well, listen, man. I ain't been in the trap in a while. So, you know, it feels a little different to be in the trap.
Right. So look, what we're going to be doing in this podcast interview is we bring on influential people, amazing people, overachievers who've been able to beat or leverage or supersede some of America's most infamous traps, right? We cover your journey, successes, trials, and how some of us have beat the corner trap, the culture trap, the college trap, or the corporate trap. Some of us, all the traps, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're tackling that today. And a trap is defined, King Mice, as a program or system designed to entice and entangle you, but secretly for the benefit of another, right? So we're going to talk about how these systems entice, wrap us in, entangle us, but it's secretly for the benefit of the system, right? The programs, the corporations, etc. So what we're going to do is we're going to drive it to the trap, and we're going to talk about who King Mysonne is today. And then we're going to back that thing up, reverse engineer, and talk about where you started and your journey moving forward. So this is the alley-oop. I know you humble. You don't do too much flexing, although you do major work. But I'm going to push you in this to talk your talk about who you are today, what you've done to date, and what's your vision moving forward, mission moving forward.
Well, today I am a artist and an activist.
Okay.
/ civil rights activist, leader.
Certainly a leader.
Co-founder of the organization Until Freedom. I'm founder of Raising Kings, founder of Initiative of Boycott Black Murder, Kings Stop Killing Kings. So, today I utilize, which we will get into, my past, my experience, just everything that I've been through to try to pay it forward, try to change the narrative, because I realized in my past, there was a narrative that was given to me. There was something that was sold to me that I brought. And it made me make a lot of mistakes. It put me in positions that I could have avoided had I just had somebody like myself. Unfortunately, my father passed when I was young, so, I didn't have the same level of guidance that I would want. And the people who were influencing me were influenced by the same thing that I was influenced by. So even though they were good people, honorable people, they just found out how to do the wrong things right.
Wow.
So
did the wrong things really good.
The wrong things really good, and they taught me how to do those things. So to here today, understanding, where I've come from, understanding if I had the same knowledge with the same drive and the same skill set, the same everything that I have, where I could have been, what I should have been doing, and what I could have been doing with that same energy. So now today, the organizations I found, basically just being just against injustice is one of my major things. I've always found myself to be like the bully meter. You know what I'm saying? Right. I was in cool school, always took up for the kids who was getting bullied. So the civil rights work that I do, fighting against injustices, cases like Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, Eric Gardner, countless cases. I find myself wanting to get justice for them. Feeling like it's my duty to. Feeling like really just embracing it and taking it on. The responsibility to see that these people who lost their lives, didn't lose it in vain. That somebody's held accountable. And that's why I am one of the co-founders of Until Freedom. So that was my goal there. When I sat back, came through different organizations, started out in Harry Belafonte's organization, the Gathering for Justice, which morphed into a more rapid response organization called the Justice League, in which, we decided we were immediate response to everything that was going on. We called rallies, we called marches, we did protests, we did everything. We marched from New York to DC. So that was amazing. That was the major things that we did. And then just saying to myself, we finding a core group of people that I worked with along the way and saying to myself, I think it's time for us to create our own, to really create something that looks like what it is that we envision. We got a part of different organizations that already had their center. They had the vision for it. Right. We fed into somebody else's vision, and they were dope, and they pretty much gave us the knowledge and everything that we got to get to this point. But I said to myself, I feel like the culture where it is now, the mindset, what I represent, where I come from, isn't really represented inside, these organizations. And it's not a bad thing. It's just that I feel like it was time for something new.
Right,
so,
and you bring something unique and new to the table.
Yeah, so
right. So it's not so much either or; it's an addition to.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what you do. We supposed to stand on the shoulders of our elders. We take what they've given us, and we take it to the next level. We can't just stay there in that same place. So that's what we wanted to do with Until Freedom, and so that's how that was created. Kings Stop Killing Kings was Raising Kings was an initiative, just being a father. My oldest son is 23 years old. How
many sons you got?
I have 3 sons. I have a 23-year-old, a 10-year-old, and a 7-year-old. And that was the initiative, just understanding that we're raising kings, literally, and making them identify themselves as kings, making them see themselves as valuable. A lot of times, especially the narrative that we see in society, it doesn't make us show us as our true selves. It doesn't make us feel like we're powerful, like we can accomplish anything. And I wanted to reinforce that in not only my kids, but all of the kids, especially young Black and brown kids in our communities, because we a lot of times we don't see ourselves outside of the trap, as you said, because we've been taught that's the only way to success. Like I tell people all the time, my first vision of success was a drug deal. He had everything I wanted. He had the cars I wanted, the girls I wanted, the clothes I wanted, the respect I wanted. He did all things. That was the first vision I didn't live next door to a lawyer, a doctor, a business owner. I never seen any of that. So my first aspiration was to try to emulate that. So I said to myself, why can't we be doing something that's positive, that's legal, and have that same effect on our communities? So that's what Raising Kings was. That initiative was just retraining the narrative and giving these young boys a real rite to passage, what manhood really looks like. We've been, in this society, we've been defined by what we have, what we don't have, what we look like, what we possess. And I wanted our young men to realize that's not what makes you a man. It's the things that's in you, not what's on you, that makes you a man. So that's what Raising Kings was. What
is it in you as a man that makes you a man? What in you?
For me, I think it's integrity. I think it's moral compass. I think it's character. I think it's certain things about you that allows you to shine without trying to. I think when your character speaks for itself, when you're a man of good nature and good heart and want to do the right things and carry yourself with a level of honor and integrity, I think that's what manhood is. I think everything else follows that. When you, even in the hood, when you in the hood, the first thing they recognize is the strength that you have, right? And then what people do is they utilize it for something else. They recognize all the skill sets. They recognize all of those things. Even the honor that you have is celebrated. Even in the biggest criminal, his honor is celebrated, right? So what we realize is most of these quote unquote criminals and drug dealers or whatever, when they're given a different opportunity to shine and they have another alternative, they do that. You know, yourself is an example of that. You know, you utilized the skill. You had to be in the street and you played the game in the street, but that's not where you morally was. None of us want to be in the streets hustling. None of us want to run from police and put our lives in jeopardy. So I always say that you find someone in the street that has a level of respect, and he usually has a level of honor that if you give him a different alternative and you show him something different, then it can be utilized for something different. You know, even when you talk about the shooters in the street, we celebrate the shooters in the Army. You know, they shoot us for real. They shoot us for real. Snipers. They get Purple Hearts. They get all those things. So if you redirect that same energy to something else, it's going to be, these are the generals that are in the Army, right? So if we put these young kids in those same predicaments, you know, the level of respect and honor that they have will flourish in a different manner. So that's what I did with Raising Kings, you know, and then I started the initiative off of that, Kings Stop Killing Kings, just based on what happened to Nipsey Hussle. You know, when I seen, he was somebody that I respected.
Yeah, rest in power.
You know, he was somebody that I really respected, and we build, and we was saying we was going to do a lot of things together. We never actually got to do it, but just the way they carried itself just reminded me of the same moral compass that I have. You know, we was on the same wavelength. It's very rarely that you find people that have that wavelength that don't have no problem going against the status quo and saying, nah, that's not what it is. We gonna do it this way. And we gonna redefine it. And we still cool, and we still G, and we all of that, but we ain't gonna celebrate it this way. We're gonna do it this way. I'm gonna show you how to do something different. It's very rare, especially from our culture, that you see people that have that type of energy. And that's the energy that I've always been on, not trying to follow the crowd and trying to redefine things and do things that go with that make me feel morally comfortable, that I can sleep at night.
Right.
You know, so I created that initiative, and it's just about building and just us saying to ourselves that I can't kill you. No, I don't want to. I can't, because you're my brother. I'm not here to hurt my brother. I want to build. I understand you dealing with the same trauma and pains that I've been dealing with my whole life. So you're not my op. We all family. So when we start to train the mind, when you see somebody as your brother, you can't kill him. When you really vision and say, yo, this is another me. This is the second version of me. This is a whole nother version of me. Even if we don't agree, I don't want to take your life from you.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? So that's the mind state I wanted to do with Kings Stop Killing Kings. And then now the new initiative, Boycotting Black Murder, is just elevating that. Like now it's not even Kings Stop, we're boycotting. We're not even allowing it. In our communities, it's celebrated and is incentivized for us to kill each other. We're not allowing that no more. Anybody who celebrates that and incentivizes that is the op. That's the op. You know what I'm saying? Gangster is when you can stop somebody from shooting somebody. Anybody, any coward with a gun and anything can shoot somebody. But when you gangster and you have real respect, you can walk up to somebody and say, bro, that's not what we doing here. And they respect you enough that even at that rage and anger, that they're going to say, you know what, out of respect for that man, I'm not going to do that. And then it starts to trickle down out of respect for myself. And then we start to retrain the narrative. So, you know, those are things that I've been able to do, going into different colleges and even high schools, having curriculums, writing books. You know, I wrote a children's book. Right. And I'm working on the second one. The second one is about to be out too, and it's called Raising Kings. And it's about what I call the 13 principles of manhood. Just raising young boys and instilling in them what this is what manhood looks like. You know, and breaking down what integrity is, breaking down what honor is, breaking down those things in the simplest form so that our young kings can grab that and hold on to it. You know, I have mantras that I tell my sons every day. I say, you're a king and you're chasing greatness. You know, and if you can't control yourself, then you can't control anything. And they say that every morning before they go to school. You know, and that's one of the mantras I want our kings to start to say to themselves. Because when you say things, they become things. Words are the most, I don't care what nobody tells you. You can talk about people, strong money. If you look at the most powerful people in the world, it's because they utilize words. Words are the strongest things in the world. Right. You know, our leaders, every leader we had. In the beginning was the word. That's it. The Bible is words. You know what I'm saying? Shakespeare, words. Everything is just words. MLK speeches, Farrakhan speeches, words. So rappers, Jay-Z, words. Words. They control the world. I don't care what everybody, you can have the smallest person. If he can speak eloquently and he can he can grab the minds of somebody who's paying attention. He can grasp that that is the ruler. So words actually rule everything. So, you know, and that's what I realized.
Another trap bar.
I realized that. So I want to utilize my words to pour in to our kings.
Hey, peace fam, let's pause real quick for the special announcement. Our brother, the King Mysonne, this is my brother from another, real man in real life, is co-founder of Until Freedom, and not only dropped trap gems, became vulnerable, got raw with us, but you see him fighting on the front line for kings, building kings, and kings to stop killing kings. If you want to join Mysonne's movement and Until Freedom movement, make sure you guys tap into Until Freedom and follow our brother, right? This is someone that I vouch for because I've actually put blood, sweat, and tears in shoulder to shoulder with him in real life and watched his love and commitment to our community. That's right. So make sure you guys look up and join Until Freedom in real life. And now back to our regularly scheduled program.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. So obviously we connect on so many levels because we have that same moral compass. One, I love going against the bully. It's like, now we're going against the biggest bully. Like, now you ain't gonna bully our people, not on my watch.
That's right.
Right? So that energy, the energy of just, again, loving ourselves, loving our brothers, also standing up for our community and inspired by our children. So for me, I got 3 daughters. So it means as much to me to still help men.
Because you need to make sure that
I gotta have some strong men out here
exactly. to take care of your queens. Yeah.
Exactly, right? And so I'd love to definitely bring in the children's book to Big Brother Anonymous that we do here at the Legacy Center. Where we have a Right to Passage program for young men that we're doing and building, partnered with the Obama Foundation and My Brother's Keeper Alliance, and just our own vision to just pour back into our men. So we do definitely collab more on that. But I love the piece you said, and the way I kind of said it was the mantra you gave your son is that when you said, which is a trap bar, that if you can't control yourself, you can't control anything.
That's a fact.
And I found that too many black men profess gangsterism and thorough and all that, but don't have dominion over their emotions. You go out of control. How do you get out of control?
That means if somebody can dictate the way you act, then they control you.
You're a remote control, you're a crash dummy.
If I know I can say this and make you do this, then who ultimately is
Bro, it's a chess move. Like, yo, I'm gonna say this, push his button and watch him go off. Dummy.
Yeah. It's a process though, because you know, especially when we're men, and men, we have ego, we have pride, we have all these things.
Right.
So when you saying things that insults me, you know, and in that manner, and you put it into the universe, your immediately reaction is like, what? To defend it and try to, you know, but then you just have to realize, especially in this day and age when we live in social media, that anybody can say anything. And if you fall into that, you'll be arguing with everybody.
Right.
Like, I used to be on the comments like, what? I ain't do that. And then I started saying,
bro, look at you.
I said, why do I care? And then I wrote it on Instagram. For me to care about what you think about me, first I have to care about you. I have to care about what you think, first of all.
Right.
If you're a person that holds no real value to me or anything, and you have an opinion of me, that's your personal thing. It ain't even for me.
That's you.
No matter how negative it is. You understand what I'm saying? So we all have to grow in that regard, especially as men. We feed into that a lot.
Right.
You know, a lot.
Because you think about it, before the internet, somebody could feel some kind of way about you, like say 10 years ago, 20 years ago. They could have felt some way about a rapper or somebody. Instead to themselves at home, they still feel that way about the rapper. Oh, he a sucker. He should have did this. He should have did that. But you just didn't read it, just didn't hear it. So it didn't affect you. So now because somebody could make a fake account or a real account or whatever and type it, wow. But to your point, words have power.
They do.
But we gotta understand that and be in more dominion enough to be like, yo, I'm not gonna let you weaponize those words
against me.
And
the thing is, your words have power along with your actions, right? So when you're a person like yourself, you say you got to outwork the work, right? Mm-hmm. So when you have the words to go along with the actions, and they just have the words, then it's just like you're just wasting your time. I don't have to dispute. Like a main person that does this is Jay-Z. Like Jay-Z I'll be watching people just go online and just say whatever they want about Jay, and Jay never responds. Like it took him a process because, you know, being a rapper, that was the thing. You go back and forth, you know, he had classic battles. But in this time and age, and he's constantly doing things, pushing the culture forward. Like they go, oh, Jay-Z,
that wasn't enough.
That ain't enough. Oh, he did this and that. And he's constantly doing things to win. And so it's like when you can listen to somebody try to tell you how Jay-Z is losing and doing this and that, then you know if they talking about this man who just became a billionaire, who I've watched, fund the movement, I've watched him do things behind the scenes that he don't even need credit for. I watched him constantly push, the culture forward and make strides to be able to get you in rooms that you never was in before and make power plays that say, damn, I could do that. Jay just did it, right? So if I watch you talk about that man and try to diminish him, I know what you're saying about me. And then I have to realize, and then when I watch that, it's just you. Then I watch how he doesn't respond to it and continues to push it forward. Then I have to say that this is what comes with it, And that's when you've arrived when people want to tear you down because they see an energy in you and they see strength in you that shows their own weakness, right? Because they watch you continue to go through things where they would have failed, where they would have said, you know what, I'm going to give up. I don't got the energy to do that. And you continue to push past that. And they're like, why he just won't die? Because I would have been dead already. I'm going to call him every name because I want him to die. And every time you don't and you come back with a smile, it exposes how weak they are.
Right.
And that's all it is. So I can't allow somebody who's weak to try to push their weakness.
I already know you're weak. I forgot who it was. Somebody on our podcast said issue. Somebody got an issue with you. The word issue is ish-you.
It's you. Oh, that's a
issue with me.
It's you.
It's you. It ain't me.
It ain't me.
It's you.
That's a fact. I like that one.
So anyway, King Mice, boom. All right, so you certainly hands down are a leader. You've used your talents, your gifts, your experiences to help move our culture forward. I commend you. You know that. Support you, love you.
That's why.
Let's back this thing up a little bit. It's reverse engineer out the trap. Mm-hmm. And where did you start? Where did Mysonne grow up? What was growing up like?
Grew up in high-bridge section of the Bronx. It was a lot, man. My father OD'd when I was 11 years old. I found him dead in my house from heroin. Wow. Shortly after that, my mother was addicted to crack cocaine. So my whole childhood was just after the age of 8. I went from having these parents that were young, vibrant, who my father was going to computer school. My mother was, secretary, to just watching life just change, And it was just me and my little sister. And, as I watched them disappear and see my mother not home a lot of times after I lost my father, unfortunately, I gravitated more to the streets and looked in that area for some level of guidance and instruction and just trying to survive because me and my little sister was home.
So I want to ask you something real quick. So at 11 years old, your pops, rest in power, passed away. ODs on heroin. And I grew up with the man who raised me, I call my father, not biological, still was my father, had a lifelong heroin addiction. Mm-hmm. What was your emotional state, your mind state, like, and you found your pops, like, how did you deal with that then? And what was your mind state as an 11-year-old young man?
It was a tough one. I think, because the whole situation, the way my father died was, I knew he passed away before I seen him.
How's that?
My mother and father were separated, so we were staying in my grandmother's house. And my father was supposed to take me school shopping, 2 days before that. On a Saturday, I called him. He didn't answer the phone. And then Sunday night, I called him. He didn't answer the phone. And I remember just sitting in my grandmother's house and just breaking down crying, just in tears. And my mother was like, what's wrong? I was like, something's wrong with my father. Like, I felt it wasn't that. He just wasn't answering calls. I was like, nah, something is wrong. It's just something wrong. I know it's something wrong. And I went to school the next day, and I remember I was sitting in school, and I was just nervous the whole day. And I was sitting, I just kept watching the door, because I knew my mother was coming to the door to tell me that my father passed away. Like, I literally knew it the whole day. I'm looking at the door, and I remember having a conversation with one of my friends, and he was like, "What's the matter?" I was like, I think my father's dead. Like, I literally said this before, and then next thing I know, I look at the door, and my mother walks to the door, and she's talking to my teacher, and I already knew. So I had cried the whole day before, but at that point, I was already prepared. I
just got chills.
So when she came to the door and said it to me, I said, I know. And then I went to the house, and she they was waiting for the coroner and the police to come, and I was standing in the hallway, and my mother, and I had to use the bathroom. She was like, I was like, I want to go in the bathroom. She was like, no. I said, I want to see him. And she just looked at me, and I wasn't crying. I was like, I can do it, and I could do it. And I walked by, and I just remember he was sitting on this couch, and his body had metamorphosized because he had been dead for like 2 days already. And his eyes was bulging. He was laying back in this little love seat. And I walked by and went to the bathroom, and I was just talking to him like, I'm gonna take care of us. I was like, I'm gonna take care of us, Daddy. Like you told me to, I got us. And I walked out, and I didn't cry at the funeral. Like the day before that night, though, when I said I cried all night. So I all of that got out, and now it's time, because my father always said, when I'm not here, you the man in this house. When I'm not here, you the man in this house. And I assumed that role, immediately stepped into that role. So.
And how do you think that played into how you approached life after that? Going through,
it was a lot.
Teenage years.
I didn't even realize what trauma or none of that was. Until recently, just starting to pay attention to mental health. I didn't realize the levels of trauma and things that I dealt with. Like my mother and father, being addicted to drugs, they had an abusive relationship. My father was like the best, coolest person in the world, and I never knew that he was addicted to heroin until he died. I never knew he was on heroin. I used to just see him drink, and then he would act a little crazy, and they would get into fights, and they would break away, and police would come, and I have to break it up. And I was like the only person my father would listen to. Like nobody else can stop him from doing nothing. Me, I'd be like, Daddy, just talk to me. He'll take me outside. I'd take him outside to walk. We'd walk, and he'll just calm down. He would just listen to me all the time. No, I don't care. If anybody else could not get to him at all. But me, he would always.
Why you think that?
I don't know. I don't know what it is. Maybe he just saw himself in me. Maybe, I was his only son. I don't know exactly what it was, but I know we just had a bond that was different. So him leaving, just had me in a whole different mind frame, man. It's like, I have to be the strength. I have to always show strength. Because I never really saw my father weak. I never seen him cry. I never seen him weak. I never seen any of those things. So, I remember, my father got locked up for one of his friends. He was chilling with one of his friends. His friends had some drugs or something in the bag, and they pulled them over and grabbed both of them. My father was a career criminal. He had hustled. He did all type of stuff his whole life. So he got locked up for him. And I remember him calling home, and my mother like, you gotta come home. You need to tell him whose stuff it was. And he was like, I'm not doing that. And he was like, I'm not gonna do that. And for 8 months, he sat up on Rikers Island. My mother cursed him out every day. You leaving your family? He said, no, I'm not leaving. I know what it is that I signed up for. I've been in these streets my whole life, and that's just something I'm not gonna do. As a man, whatever comes with it. And unfortunately, they dropped the case. But I remember him having that stance. I remember him just being, then coming home and doing a lot of things for us. But certain things like that always stuck in my mind. Despite whatever it was, he was not gonna compromise who he was. So I never saw my father weak, so I never wanted to be weak.
And that really explains how we started this podcast with you talking about boycotting black murder, going up against the system, Kings Stop Killing Kings, building young kings, until freedom, going against the biggest systems and white supremacy and oppression and all that. And just your affinity and example of strong manhood. Like that speaks to exactly what you saw, you are replicating in real life. So it's great to kind of tie that in. And so now you were going through the streets, right, or attracted to the streets at this time. You went to high school, graduated?
I did graduate. I graduated late, but I did graduate high school.
Okay.
I made my way through.
All right. Now, in high school, were you aspiring to have some corporate career, go to college?
I wanted to be a basketball player in high school. In high school, I was on the basketball team. I was really good in basketball, and that was what I wanted to do. And then I just started to wave more towards the streets and girls, stop my vision, from junior high school all the way to my senior year in high school. I was playing ball, and then it just started to waver a little. And I remember I got into a big argument with my high school coach. Because he's like, oh, you want to hang with these girls all day and you're not coming to practice. And he said, you know what? Don't come back to this team until you're ready to do this. And I'm like, I don't need this team. And I walked out, and I was probably like one of the worst things I regret, you know? And I walked out the team. And that year, my high school team went to the championship. We played against Stephon Marbury and them, beat them in the championship for the ring and everything. And I always regretted that, you know? And then I just went further more into the streets, you know, a lot more into the streets. And then that's when I started rapping. But when I was in high school, I was studying law. When I was in high school, I was a lawyer. I was studying, I went to Martin Luther King High School, and I went to the law program. And then when I graduated, I took a year off, and I went to John Jay College for like 2 semesters, but I didn't go back.
Gotcha. What intrigued you about law in high school?
Because I wanted to be a defense attorney. It has always been the same thing. Like, I always wanted...
You, bully, I want you.
You know what I'm saying? I wanted to defend people. I just wanted to protect people. Like, you know, every time we used to do mock trials, I used to write the closing arguments for our defense attorney. I was told why they was innocent. I always wanted to prove people in. I never wanted to see people go locked up. I always was just against injustice.
Gotcha.
You know, that was always who I was.
So when you say in the streets, you talk about selling drugs, you talking about...
Selling drugs, robberies, you know, you name it, we did it.
Gotcha. What was the first time you remember being outside?
First time I remember being outside.
Like an actual transaction, or you hitting
I mean, we was doing robberies since I was like 13 and 14. Like we used to go to 42nd Street, right? And first thing we used to do was we rob video games. So we would go to the big, you know, the big arcade, and my friend, God bless the dead, Virgil, knew how to break open all the games. So at 13 and 14, we would go into the games, and he knew how to pop in the back of them. We all had briefcases on book bags, and it was thousands of dollars in each of these games. So he knew how to click the game, what we call clicking the game, where he would give you 100 credits. So he would make sure one of us was playing. He knew how to get in, and he taught us how to do it. Or one of us would be playing, and then the other one would go in the back. And why it was making a noise, because you had to pop it was a box, you had to pop the box and break in the box. And we were banging on the game like, it's messing up. Oh, man, come on. We all surround the game, be like 6 or 7 of us surrounding it. And he's in
diversion tactics.
You know what I'm saying? Diversion tactics. And we would go and we'd do about 4 or 5 games a day until they started getting up on us. And then sometimes we would be certain places, we'll see somebody with a chain or something. I was always the smallest and youngest, so I would walk by and like bump into them. And they'd be like, yo, what's going on? And then he'll come from behind, and my man Chris would throw him in a yoke, and we take the chain and watch, and we run, you know. So that was our hustle since I was 13 years old.
Outside,
you know.
Gotcha.
Or sometimes we would pull guns on them. It was different things. So,
gotcha. So you're doing that while going to law school in high school. So you're hitting licks and learn how to defend law, playing ball, getting into girls, get out of high school, John Jay College, couple years. Why didn't you stay in the college route?
I don't know. I was going to college. And then when I started hustling in college. You know, like I started hustling. I didn't sell drugs because I was so anti-drugs based on my father. You know, I didn't want to sell drugs. I didn't want to, and my mother being addicted, I didn't want, like, it was something that was so, my best friends, the Virgil and another dude from the hood, they was the biggest drug dealers. These was my 2 best friends, and they was the biggest drug dealers. And they always wanted me, like, yo, I'm telling you, I remember coming from junior high school when crack first started. Elementary school, my 6th grade year. And Verge had a vial of crack. He's like, yo, this is going to get us rich. And I'm like, what the I'm like, I'm telling you. Next thing I know, they had the block on smash. They was riding car, and they were like, yo, come here. I was like, nah, I'm not doing it.
Crack first hit in the
Bronx. They was like, and I was so good in basketball at first, they didn't want me to do it. Like, both of them would be like, nah, I don't want you out here. And I never was trying to because I wanted to stay away. So they would come give me $300-400. Like, here, you get what you need. Hey, you good? We don't want you on the block. Like, I was that person that they figured, yo, he was really good in ball. He could do it.
Right.
Like, he really could do it. So, you know,
can
a
make it
lot
out
of
for us.
a lot of my brothers tried to keep me out of the streets. But, you know, and when I got like 18, 19 years old, things got a little more hectic. You know, your little $200-$300 ain't. I need more.
mine.
You know what I'm saying? I need mines. You know, and then started going out of town, hustling out of town, Charlottesville. I remember.
North Carolina?
Yeah. You know, I remember we used to go out there and hustle and bring work. I remember the first time I went out there, we sold a half a brick in less than an hour.
Wow.
And we broke it down.
Damn.
This was the scariest I've ever seen.
Y'all bust down a half a brick?
Half a brick.
In how long is that?
In 1 hour.
Jeez.
I never seen So we was going, I went back about 2 times, and I remember, I tell the story every time. A fiend came to me. It's a lady. So I was in the back of the house, so she came up to me. She was like, "You got it?" She was like, and I was like, "Yeah, I got through." She was like, "What are you doing out here?" And she was looking around. I'm like, "What you mean, what am I doing out here? Are you trying to cop? What's going on?" She was like, "What are you doing out here?" I'm like, "Miss, what are you talking about?" She's like, "You don't belong out here."
Wow.
She's like, "You don't belong here." She said, "Go home." She said, "Don't come back here." This lady looked me dead in my face and said, "Don't come back here."
Mm. And what was your feeling then?
I take signs. Like, I'm not a person that ignore the signs, like whatever, I ain't listen. She said that, I didn't go back. Never went back there. One of the dudes that I know, God bless it, my man got killed in that town. Another one of them got life. You know, like, and I sit there and think, like, this lady told me, looked at me and said, "You don't belong here." Like, out of nowhere, like she was an angel, like literally like she was a guardian angel, and said, "You don't belong here." You know, and I said, I never forget it. I was
God
like,
be working on our behalf.
I said, "I'm not going back. I'm never doing that again."
All right, so man, we gotta get into how the rap career started, what happens next, and the growth of Mysonne, New York's general. We're gonna do that on part 2. We done got you guys hopefully warmed up.
Yeah, man.
This is my brother, man. Appreciate you coming to the trap. Listen, hey family, y'all just witnessed a real interview with a real man two real men in the trap. Make sure you guys subscribe to the podcast and stay tuned for part 2.
Part 2.
With Mysonne the General, Jay Morrison, how to beat the trap in real life.
Hey, peace, family. Real estate pioneer Jay Morrison coming to you live from the Black House. Why haven't you got your first of its kind interactive video textbook experience, the 12-step real estate crash course? This book will make you a real estate power player in real life with over 6.5 hours of video lessons with 290 pages of real workbook experiences, tests, quizzes, assessments that give you the skill set, mindset, and formulas needed to dominate in real estate and be a power player in any part of the industry in real life. Homeowner, realtor, wholesaler, landlord, flipper, developer, don't matter. You need this book. Your family needs this book. Go tap in, click the link right now for your interactive, first of its kind video textbook experience in real life. Tap in.
12stepvideotextbook.com.